One of the most unpleasant things that I've ever gone in front of a webcam and said on YouTube was a statement that I made in my previous video where I said essentially that between religion and non-religion in this world, religion has pretty much already won the fight, assuming that there is such a fight. There's too much historical evidence, too much social evidence, too much evidence in the world around us that traditional sort of, I don't really want to call it closed mind, but perhaps cocooned faith is on its way out. Nothing is ever going to be as sure as it ever was before. We won't have our traditional points of references anymore. I think that we're in the process of replacing them with more solid, better points of reference, but we haven't done so without big mistakes, i.e. certain anti-theistic political movements like communism, where they kind of went way too far in dealing with political religion. But I still think that there's not a lot that traditional faith, at least in the way that it's been practiced in the last couple of thousand years, can do to stand in the way of the onslaught of science, reason, and above all, free speech and free criticism. Nothing is sacred anymore, and I don't mean nothing is sacred in terms of our perception of what is sacred, but nothing is above criticism. Everything is now open to attack, and that is kind of the Achilles heel of religion, or traditional religion. No longer can we accuse Socrates of inventing new gods or insulting the old ones and hand him his cup of hemlock and say that you've had it because what you've said is too much. Now and for the foreseeable future, unless something completely insane happens, as I said, people are going to be able to question everything, ridicule everything, attack everything, deconstruct everything, and publish it to anyone on earth who has a computer. We've never been in that situation before, and we've got laws now that guarantee people's rights to do that. I don't see how traditional faith can withstand that. But the reason why I say that I'm not crowing in victory over that is the fact that although I'm a free speaker, a free thinker, a skeptic, and I guess ultimately an unbeliever, well, I just got a collection of books. My house is just, the walls are lined with books. I can never say no to a book, and I can never part with one. This is the Analects of Confucius. That's from the Sacred Writings series, and it's from Pelican. This is an anthology of Islamic literature. This is called Buddhism, The Thinkers of the East by Idris Shah, also from Pelican. The Bhagavad Gita, the closest thing the Hindus have to a Bible. The Goddess, which is an exploration of feminine aspects of the divine. On Searching the Scriptures, your own or someone else's. The Quran. And a book which changed this young man's life when I once was young, when I read it, when I was riddled with Catholic doubt, Catholic fears, and complete confusion. Houston Smith's The Religion of Man. I think anyone of my generation or younger who ended up sort of going down the same path as I did, i.e. skepticism, but still with great respect for religion, has probably read that book. Um, religion, or at least the thinking that accompanies it, still has an enormous pull on me. If I'm implying that maybe the Islamic world will never go back to the way things were, say around 1000 AD, which is possible, I don't think that it ever will go back to that, to be perfectly honest, or even anything like it, the good old days, shall we say. It wasn't a bad civilization at that time, as far as civilizations went. In fact, I would say it was a very good one. It was a lot more peaceful. Islamic history in general has been much more peaceful than Western history, and this ring that I'm wearing, for all that means, says history on it. Believe me, I know my history. I'm not ashamed of being a Westerner, but our history has been 100 times bloodier than that of the Islamic world. We just have to be honest. It has been. To see that civilization sort of, I don't know, not necessarily dying, I suppose, but sort of retiring in a dignified manner, is, I suppose, a sad thing to see. But let's face it, the America of howdy doody of the 1950s, when everything was supposedly wonderful, is gone forever as well. The Britain of Queen Victoria, which was supposedly some sort of golden age, is gone forever now. Its certainty smashed by modern science and free thinking. The Japanese, if you ask me right now, are undergoing a profound crisis of conscience or of faith. The modern world is smashing down the doors that they've always relied upon to keep their world, in their mental, emotional world, philosophical world intact. And there's nothing they can do about it, and they're profoundly disoriented. This new information world is disorienting all of us. And it's really affecting people with deep religious convictions, or people who see a necessity of faith-based worldviews. I won't say everybody who is in that situation, but it's affecting a lot of people. For example, I'm a skeptic. I don't believe in anything. I'm not likely to find myself in church anytime often. My wife is quite religious. We simply don't discuss it. I don't go around telling her what garbage her faith is, and she just sees me reading my books on ancient Greek philosophers and goes, whatever. I hope that the world can come to some sort of modus vivendi on this issue. We don't really need to be divided into two hostile camps, because each one, I think, can learn from the other. It's a very, very difficult process. It's even more compounded by the fact that the increasing interfertilization, cross-fertilization, or perhaps, dare I say it, bastardization of cultures, i.e. they mix together and the results people are not quite always pleased with, could continue to create potentially explosive friction, potentially explosive, desperate disorientation, like that which informed, if you ask me, the suicide attackers at 9/11. 9/11 to me, however strange this may sound, was Osama bin Laden's admission of complete and total defeat at the hands of the United States, the hands of the West. That was the last gasp, if you ask me, or maybe one of the last gasps of a world that is probably gone forever, where things were certain and there were things one did not question. That disorients people of faith. But perhaps faith can evolve into something that can deal with the endless criticism and the endless onslaught of science. I certainly hope so. Because, as Gandhi said in the movie, there's room enough on this planet for all of us. Thank you.